The hall was quiet, almost too quiet for the size of the building. Endless corridors stretched in every direction, filled with artifacts from worlds humans had only read about in books. Few people came here anymore. The museum had once been the center of knowledge in the galaxy, but now it was mostly visited by scholars and the occasional tourist. Most of the time, the hall belonged to Silence and the janitor who walked its floors every day. His name was Liam. He was not important by anyone's measure. He wore simple clothes, carried a mop, and pushed a cart with cleaning supplies. He spoke little and smiled even less. But there was a light in his eyes, a quiet curiosity that no one noticed. He moved carefully between the displays, dusting glass cases and polishing metal surfaces, always careful not to touch anything he shouldn't. Today, however, the hall felt different. The light seemed dimmer, or maybe it was the air, thick with an unspoken tension. Liam moved toward the back of the museum, where the most secret artifacts were kept. This section was usually locked, and only scientists were allowed to enter. But the janitor had a key, a small one he had kept for years. No one asked questions. People assumed he only needed it for cleaning. At the far end of the hall, behind a reinforced glass case, sat the artifact. It was small but unlike anything Liam had seen before. A strange metal orb, etched with symbols that glowed faintly in the low light. Scientists had said it belonged to a bloodline that no longer existed. Long ago, this line of rulers had vanished, leaving only myths and stories. Many had tried to touch the artifact to unlock its secrets, but nothing happened. It was said that no living being could awaken it. Liam did not know much about the bloodline. He had read a few old notes tucked in the display's archive, but it was all distant history to him. To him, the artifact was just beautiful and strange. As he walked past, he paused. Something inside him told him to look closer. He leaned in, brushing a fingertip against the cold metal. The moment his skin touched it, the orb shivered. A soft light spread from its center, washing the hall in gentle warmth. Liam pulled back, startled. His heart raced. He looked around to see if anyone else had noticed, but the hall was empty. The light faded slowly, but he knew something had changed. For the rest of the day, Liam could not stop thinking about it. He went through his routine, cleaning floors and windows, but his mind kept returning to the artifact. That evening, after the last visitor had left and the doors were locked, he returned. Alone in the silence, he stood before the orb again. He touched it gently this time, pressing his palm flat. The artifact hummed, a sound that was soft but deep, like the memory of a long-forgotten song. Symbols lit up across its surface, glowing in patterns Liam could not understand. Yet, somehow, it felt familiar, as if the object recognized him. He stepped back, unsure what to do. The next day, Liam found himself sneaking glances at the artifact whenever he could. He tried to explain it to himself logically. Maybe it was a trick of the light or some electrical fault. But every time he touched it, the same reaction occurred. The hum, the glow, the strange warmth that spread through his hand. Scientists began to notice the change. Small alarms had triggered when the orb's light brightened. They came rushing in, their data pads ready, their faces filled with curiosity and disbelief. Liam stepped aside, holding back. They examined the artifact, pressing buttons, running scans, speaking in technical terms he barely understood. Nothing worked. The orb responded to no one but him. It made Liam uneasy. He did not want power. He did not want attention. Yet he could not ignore the feeling that this was important. The artifact had chosen him. Somehow, in a world filled with scholars, rulers, and experts, it had chosen a janitor. That night he walked home slowly. The city lights reflected in the puddles on the streets. He thought about the bloodline he had only read about in old notes. Perhaps they had vanished not because they lacked power, but because they had lost what mattered most. Perhaps the orb was waiting for someone who understood more than titles and knowledge. Someone who understood care, patience, and humility. As he lay in bed, Liam could not sleep. Images of the glowing orb, of symbols moving like living things, filled his mind. He wondered what it meant, what the artifact wanted from him. For the first time in his life, he felt that he was part of something much bigger than himself. Something ancient and important, hidden in plain sight. The hall remained quiet. The artifact rested in its case, ordinary to anyone else but alive to Liam. And for the first time, the janitor understood that sometimes, greatness does not come from who you are expected to be, it comes from who you truly are. And with that thought, a small, unshakable hope grew in his heart. The story of the extinct bloodline might not be over after all. The morning light streamed through the tall windows of the museum, painting the halls in gold. Liam pushed his cleaning cart along the polished floors, his mind still on the artifact. Even after last night he could not stop thinking about it. Something had awakened when he touched it, something he did not understand, and the thought both excited and scared him. He approached the back hall cautiously. The orb sat in its case, quiet and still, yet it seemed different now. It glimmered faintly as if it remembered him. Liam reached out a finger almost instinctively and the orb pulsed softly. A low hum filled the air, gentle but undeniable. He stepped back, eyes wide. No one else was around to see it. Later that day, scientists arrived again. They carried scanners, cameras, and devices with blinking lights. They murmured to one another about anomalies in the artifact's energy readings. Liam stayed in the background, careful not to draw attention. The scientists poked, prodded, and pressed every button they could find. Still, the artifact responded to no one but him. "Have you ever seen this before?" one of the scientists asked a colleague, frustration in his voice. "No," the other replied. "It's impossible. No one can trigger it. Nothing should happen." Liam watched silently, a strange feeling in his chest. The orb pulsed lightly when his hand hovered near the glass. He wondered why it chose him. He was just a janitor. Ordinary. Humble. The thought made him uneasy. Was it luck? Or something more? That evening, after the museum emptied, Liam returned once again. The hall was quiet as always and the shadows stretched across the floors. He knelt beside the artifact, touching it gently with the tips of his fingers. The orb flared, sending a warm glow through his hand and up his arm. Symbols appeared on its surface, moving in intricate patterns, like they were trying to tell him something. He pulled back and stared. The glow faded slowly, leaving him in the soft silence of the hall. Liam's mind raced. What did it want? What did it mean by choosing him? He felt no fear, only a strange sense of responsibility. He could not explain it, yet he knew he could not ignore it. Over the next few days, Liam began experimenting quietly. He visited the artifact at different times, touching it in different ways. Each time it responded only to him. No one else could make it glow. No one else could make it hum. The more he touched it, the more alive it seemed. The scientists noticed the pattern. They could not understand it, but they were curious. "Why does it respond only to him?" one whispered. They watched Liam secretly, their eyes wide with amazement. Some were skeptical, while others were beginning to wonder if there was something special about him. Liam himself did not know what made him special. He was not strong, not famous, not rich. He had never led a mission or discovered a new planet. He was a janitor who cleaned floors and polished glass. And yet, the artifact had chosen him. One night, while he was alone with the glowing orb, Liam felt something new. A voice, not a sound in his ears but a feeling in his mind, touched him. It was gentle and old, like the memory of a long-lost song. It spoke in thoughts, not words, and it seemed to recognize him. "You are the one," the feeling said. Liam shivered. "The bloodline has waited for one like you. Care, patience, and humility are your strength." Liam did not understand completely. How could he, a simple janitor, have anything to do with a royal bloodline that had vanished centuries ago? And yet, the artifact seemed to confirm it. It pulsed warmly in his hand as if agreeing. He returned home that night and could not sleep. Thoughts of the artifact and the mysterious bloodline filled his mind. Perhaps the legends were true. Perhaps the bloodline had not been entirely gone, only waiting for someone worthy. And perhaps worthiness was not about power or wealth, but about character. The next morning, Liam was quieter than usual. Even as he pushed his cleaning cart along the halls, he seemed lost in thought. He began noticing small things. The way the artifact's glow changed with his mood, the way the hum seemed to respond to his patience, the way the symbols shifted when he felt calm and honest. The artifact was teaching him something, Liam realized. It was showing him that greatness came in ways he had never imagined. It was not about titles or strength or fame. It was about being steady, kind, and true even when no one was watching. Days turned into a week, and Liam's routine never changed outwardly. He still swept the floors, wiped the glass, and pushed his cart. But inside he was changing. He was learning to understand the artifact's language, the subtle shifts in light and sound, the small signs that meant more than words. And with each touch, each quiet moment, the artifact grew stronger. The hum grew louder, the glow brighter, and the symbols moved more clearly, as if they were preparing him for something greater. Something that would not just affect the museum or the artifact, but the galaxy itself. Liam did not know what awaited him. He only knew that the artifact had chosen him. And in that choice, a spark of hope grew. The bloodline might be lost, but perhaps its legacy was not. Perhaps, through him, it could begin again. And so, the janitor continued his quiet work, touching the artifact, learning its secrets and waiting for the day it would fully awaken. He did not know when it would happen or how. All he knew was that he had been chosen and he would not let that choice go to waste. Liam returned to the museum each morning with a sense of purpose he had never felt before. The artifact waited for him in its case, silent yet alive. Every time he touched it, the glow spread through his hand, and the symbols shifted, almost like they were alive. He did not understand their language, but he felt that they were guiding him toward something important. One day, as he polished the glass around the artifact, the symbols began to move faster than ever before. A soft hum filled the hall, vibrating through the floor and walls. Liam felt a strange warmth spread through his chest. Then, in a flash of light, the symbols rose into the air, forming images of long-gone places and faces. He recognized them from the old books in the archives. The rulers of the Bloodline, heroes of past wars, builders of great cities. It was as if the artifact was showing him a history he could only understand through feeling. The hum became a voice in his mind, gentle and steady. "You are ready to learn," it said. "But first you must prove yourself." Liam froze. Prove himself? He had never been asked to do anything extraordinary. He was just a janitor, sweeping floors and cleaning glass. He did not command armies, lead councils, or explore distant planets. How could he prove anything? The artifact pulsed again and he felt a warmth in his hand, spreading to his heart. Courage is not only in strength. Wisdom is not only in knowledge. You must show your heart, it said. That evening, Liam returned after closing. He sat quietly in front of the orb, thinking of what it might mean. Suddenly the hall changed. The walls seemed to fade and the images of the past grew sharper. He saw rulers making choices, advisors debating, people suffering because of pride or fear. The artifact was showing him not battles of weapons but battles of judgment, of morality. He realized the test was not about physical skill or bravery. It was about character. The artifact would respond only to someone who understood integrity, honesty, and patience. Liam breathed deeply. These were things he had practiced all his life, though in small ways, helping lost visitors, cleaning quietly without complaint, treating everyone with respect. The first challenge came as a riddle. The artifact's glow formed shapes in the air, moving into patterns that looked like a puzzle. Symbols shifted and changed. Liam studied them carefully. He noticed that the symbols reacted to his thoughts. When he thought selfish or impatient thoughts, the shapes became jumbled. When he thought with care, with humility, they aligned into clear paths. He spent hours concentrating, slowly learning how to guide the symbols with his mind. He felt no fear, only determination. He had no instructions, no teachers, only his heart and his patience. When the symbols finally aligned, the orb glowed brighter than it ever had, as if applauding him. The second challenge was a vision of choices. Liam saw people in difficult situations, a leader deciding whether to save a city or protect his own life, a healer choosing between the rich and the poor, a family arguing over what was right. The artifact asked him silently to choose what he thought was just. Every choice he made, he felt the weight of truth pressing on him. The orb responded to decisions made with honesty, fairness, and compassion. Decisions made for pride or greed were ignored, and the images shifted, almost disapprovingly. He realized the lesson. Greatness was not about power or victory, it was about understanding the consequences of one's actions. The artifact did not reward cleverness alone. It rewarded heart. Liam felt a quiet pride, but he also understood the responsibility it carried. If the artifact had chosen him, he could not fail. The final challenge was patience. The symbols formed a maze that seemed endless, twisting in impossible shapes. Liam's first instinct was to rush through it, but he soon saw that haste caused the symbols to break apart. He sat down, breathing slowly, letting the shapes guide him. He walked carefully, step by step, thinking about each movement. Hours passed, but he did not feel tired. The artifact glowed with him as if encouraging him to keep going. Finally he reached the center. The symbols formed a perfect circle around him, the glow warm and comforting. The hum grew into a sound of recognition. He had passed the test. The artifact was awake to him fully. Not because he was strong or smart or powerful, but because he had shown patience, courage, and kindness in small, quiet ways. Liam sank to the floor, exhausted but happy. He did not know what would come next, but he felt ready. The orb's glow surrounded him, not as a tool or a weapon but as a guide. The bloodline that had been lost for centuries was awakening through him, not by force but by heart. He realized that the galaxy might never understand him. Scholars, leaders, even rulers, might scoff at the idea of a janitor chosen by an ancient artifact. But Liam did not care. He had been tested, and he had proven that greatness could come from the most ordinary people. And in that quiet hall, with the artifact glowing beside him, Liam felt the first true sense of purpose in his life. He was no longer just a janitor. He was a guardian, a student, and perhaps something even greater. The test was over, but the journey had only begun. The artifact pulsed again, softly as if whispering, "You are ready. The world awaits." Liam stood slowly, determination in his eyes. He did not yet know what the artifact would ask of him next, but he understood this. He was no longer just an observer of history. He was about to become part of it. The morning sun barely touched the museum's high windows, but the hall glowed softly with the light of the artifact. Liam walked toward it with a feeling of calm and purpose he had never known before. The tests were behind him. The artifact had recognized his patience, courage, and kindness. Now it seemed ready to show him its true power. As he approached, the orb pulsed with a brightness that filled the hall. Symbols spun in the air, more vivid and alive than ever. Liam held out his hand, and the artifact responded immediately, humming warmly as if greeting an old friend. The glow wrapped around him, filling his body with a strange energy, gentle but strong. It was not dangerous, but it made him feel alive in a way he had never experienced. Suddenly visions appeared around him, projected like holograms. Liam saw cities that had disappeared, people he had only read about, and inventions lost to time. The artifact was showing him the achievements of the bloodline it once belonged to. These rulers had been wise and fair, guided by virtue rather than fear. Their knowledge and ideas were still alive, preserved inside the artifact, waiting for someone worthy to awaken them. The orb's hum grew louder, forming a kind of voice in his mind. "The bloodline is not gone," it said. "It lives through you. You are its keeper now. Its power is not for rule or conquest. It is for guidance, protection, and understanding." Liam felt a mix of awe and fear. He had never asked for power, and he did not want it for himself. He had only been curious, patient, and careful. And yet, the artifact had chosen him. He realized that the strength of the bloodline had always been hidden in small, ordinary actions. Acts of honesty, care, and humility. He extended both hands over the artifact, and the symbols began to float around him in a slow, swirling dance. The hum became a song, soft and gentle, yet full of meaning. Liam understood that he could do something extraordinary. The artifact could heal, protect, and guide. It could awaken technologies that had been lost for centuries. And it could only be used by someone who acted with true integrity. The next few days passed in a blur. Liam learned to understand the subtle ways the artifact responded to him. A tilt of his hand, a thought, a feeling, it all influenced the glow and the hum. He could make the symbols move in patterns that suggested instructions, maps, or messages. He discovered hidden compartments in the orb that contained knowledge of the bloodline's achievements, inventions, and wisdom. Scientists and museum staff were astonished. They tried to study the artifact, but nothing worked for them. Only Liam could awaken its power. Rumors began to spread quietly through the museum. Some called him lucky, others called him chosen. No one truly understood why the janitor, the quiet man who cleaned floors and windows, was able to connect with the artifact when the greatest minds of the galaxy could not. One evening, as Liam was studying the artifact, the orb pulsed with a brighter light than ever before. The hum turned into a gentle vibration that seemed to resonate through the entire building. Symbols formed a new pattern, spelling out a clear image: a throne surrounded by light, a symbol of the bloodline reborn. Liam realized then that his role was not only to awaken the artifact but to awaken the legacy of those who had vanished. He did not feel pride, only responsibility. The power he held was not for personal gain. It was for the good of many, for the guidance of those who needed wisdom, for the protection of knowledge that might otherwise be lost. The artifact had chosen him, and he would honor that choice. In the days that followed, Liam began small. He repaired broken devices in the museum that no one had understood for decades. He guided visitors and scholars to insights they could not have found alone. Every action was small but meaningful. The artifact responded to his humility, glowing warmly as he acted with care. Word of the janitor's connection to the artifact reached powerful leaders across the galaxy. Some came with questions, some with doubt, and some with hope. They expected a hero, a ruler, or a scientist. They did not expect a janitor. Liam welcomed them all quietly, showing them the artifact and its history, explaining its purpose. No one could touch it, no one could activate it except him. Through the artifact, Liam realized the bloodline's true legacy. It was never about control, domination, or fame. It was about guiding others, protecting knowledge, and nurturing goodness. And he understood that humans, with their simple courage, patience, and kindness, could carry such a legacy when others had failed. The artifact pulsed one last time that evening, sending light through the hall like a gentle sunrise. Liam stood before it, hands resting lightly on its surface, feeling connected to a history long thought extinct. He was no longer just a janitor. He was the guardian of a legacy chosen not for power but for heart. And as the light faded to a soft glow, Liam understood that this was only the beginning. The artifact had awakened, the Bloodline's knowledge had returned, and he had a role to play in shaping a new era. The galaxy had changed quietly because one ordinary human had shown extraordinary virtues. For the first time in his life, Liam felt fully alive. The artifact was awake, the legacy was reborn, and the human janitor who had once swept empty halls was now the keeper of a history that could change the stars. The museum was quiet that morning, but not in the way it usually was. There was a sense of purpose in the air, a feeling that something important had begun. Liam walked through the halls, pushing his cleaning cart, but he no longer felt ordinary. The artifact glowed softly in its case, waiting for him, humming in gentle recognition. He had passed the tests, learned its secrets, and awakened the legacy of a bloodline long thought extinct. Now it was time to step forward. Word of his connection to the artifact had spread across the galaxy. Leaders, scholars, and travelers came to see the janitor who held the key to a forgotten power. Many were skeptical at first. How could a simple janitor awaken an artifact that no one else could touch? But when they witnessed the orb respond to Liam's hands, glowing and pulsing with life, they understood that something extraordinary was happening. Liam did not seek fame or recognition. He only wanted to honor the trust the artifact had placed in him. He led the visitors to the artifact, explaining what he had learned, showing them the knowledge of the bloodline preserved inside. Ancient designs, forgotten technologies, wisdom from rulers of long ago, all had been waiting for someone who would use them wisely. The artifact responded to his guidance, revealing more each day. It showed maps of lost cities, instructions for machines that had been forgotten, and visions of solutions for problems that had troubled civilizations for centuries. But it never allowed itself to be controlled by greed or ambition. Its power responded only to care, integrity, and patience, the virtues Liam had shown in quiet ways for years. Through the artifact, Liam began to help people in ways no one had imagined. He assisted scholars in unlocking old inventions that could improve life across planets. He guided leaders in making fair and just decisions, teaching lessons of patience and understanding. And he showed ordinary people that greatness could come from small, thoughtful actions. The galaxy watched in awe. Humans, once considered simple and limited, were proving themselves capable of extraordinary things. Liam became a symbol not because he sought it, but because his actions reflected a truth the galaxy had forgotten. Courage, kindness, and wisdom could achieve more than armies, wealth, or power. One evening, Liam stood alone with the artifact. The hall was empty, but the glow from the orb filled the space with warmth. He rested his hands on its surface, feeling the pulse of its energy. For the first time he understood fully that the Bloodline's legacy was not just knowledge or power, it was the idea that one person, guided by integrity, could change the world. The artifact projected a vision of the past rulers, showing them smiling, proud, and at peace. Liam realized that through him, the Bloodline had been reborn, not in name or title but in action and virtue. The galaxy was entering a new era, one in which humans could rise not through conquest, but through wisdom and care. In the following weeks, Liam continued his quiet work. He did not command armies or take titles. He cleaned halls, guided scholars, and shared the artifact's wisdom with those who were willing to learn. Each act, no matter how small, strengthened the legacy. And each act reminded the galaxy that sometimes, the most ordinary people could do the most extraordinary things. Leaders from distant planets came to meet him, expecting a hero or a strategist. Instead, they met a janitor who spoke simply and acted with honesty. They watched as the artifact responded only to him, realizing that its power could not be taken by force. It could only be awakened by heart. Children and students visited as well, curious about the janitor and the glowing orb. Liam showed them that patience, care, and learning could open doors to great possibilities. He taught them that the galaxy did not belong to the strongest or the richest. It belonged to those who chose to act with virtue. And slowly the world began to change. Lost knowledge returned. Forgotten cities were rebuilt. Decisions were made with care rather than fear. The Bloodline's influence, once thought extinct, spread quietly through acts of kindness, wisdom, and guidance. Liam had become the living connection between the past and the future, a proof that humans, though small and ordinary, could shape history. One night, as he polished the floors near the artifact, Liam looked around the empty hall. He smiled, feeling a sense of peace he had never known. The orb glowed warmly and he knew it was proud. Not proud in the way humans felt pride, but in a way that said, "This is the one we waited for." He thought about the journey that had brought him here. A janitor, overlooked by everyone, now the guardian of a legacy that could touch the stars. He realized that greatness was not about recognition, titles, or power. It was about doing what was right even when no one was watching. The artifact pulsed softly one last time that night, sending a warm light through the hall. Liam placed his hand on it, feeling the connection between past and future, between ordinary and extraordinary. The galaxy was awake to new possibilities, and he had a role in guiding it, not as a ruler, but as a guardian of knowledge, virtue, and hope. For the first time in his life, Liam understood fully that he was part of something far greater than himself. The bloodline was not extinct. Its legacy lived on through him, a reminder that even the humblest person could change the course of history. And in that quiet hall, with the artifact glowing beside him, the janitor smiled, knowing that a new era had begun, and that humanity had finally shown what it could truly achieve.